part of the Yogaja herd here. And this is Dr. Lindsay Samuelson, who is a naturopathic doctor right here in town. Lindsay is going to be with us each week as we continue on this journey together. She's going to be able to answer questions that we have along the way. She's also going to be able to guide us as we go through this process with different things along the way. But do you want to sit or do you want to stand?
Yeah, I'll find a spot.
So I'm going to just start today by first of all saying welcome and big step that we're all here. So it was about 6 months ago. Here they go. It was about 6 months ago now that a friend of mine said to me, you need to watch the movie, video, documentary, whatever you call it, called Fed Up. And, you know, one night I was bored of Netflix and I got it on and I watched Fed Up. And I am going to say to all of you, please go home and watch this documentary. Katie Couric is the producer of it. We have a link to it on our website and the whole 30, I think, really well anyway, our social media people will tell us. Maybe not, but, oh, I put it on Facebook today. I put it in the Facebook group. I was able to figure out how to do Facebook, how to do that, so anyway, watch this movie, and my boyfriend was like, seriously, we're gonna have to watch this tonight, and he was more into it by the end of it than I was. It is shocking. It is about childhood obesity in our country. Has anybody seen this already? Right. It's a call to action. And by the, you know, I'm in the what some people consider yoga the fitness industry, but I'm in this space. But there was a lot of new information in this that I was not aware of. And it is a call to action on many fronts. It's mostly about the food that we're putting in our bodies and what that food is doing to us, mostly sugar. So we have an epidemic on our hands right now, not just in our community, but in every community across this country, and it keeps spreading further and further out to the world. And it's, what's the common denominator? We are walking away from what we have done since the beginning of time, where we have cooked and eaten the food that nature has provided for us. I am not a vegetarian. I'm a meat and potatoes girl, believe it or not. I love big steak, I love lamb chops. And so this is a really good program because it works for people that like protein. I have never gone on a diet in my life. I don't believe in them. I think it's the demise of our culture. I believe in whole milk, half and half. Everything people are like, no, you don't. I'm like, yeah, butter, the whole shebang. But I don't consider this a diet. This is not, just FYI, it's not about losing weight. So if that's why you're here, you're probably going to lose weight. It is a side effect of when you start to eat healthfully that you will lose weight. But our intention here is about starting to learn what are the triggers that we have within each of us that are causing mostly inflammation. So what we now know is that about 85% of all disease, that would include cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, arthritis, all of them, about 85% start with inflammation. And what's causing inflammation? Stress. Turns out we're in a yoga studio, so if you aren't practicing yoga yet, you might want to consider it. Meditation is another great natural way to relieve stress. But more importantly, the food that we're putting in our bodies. Our foods have changed enormously over the last 40 years. What's in it, what's out of it. They've changed so significantly, but we haven't noticed it. We haven't noticed it. It's all snuck up on us. So this is about figuring out, taking a step to figure out, taking personal responsibility for our own health. That nobody else is doing it for us. The food industry is not helping us on this one, people. To figure out what are the triggers that are causing inflammation for me, or things that then lead to inflammation, like I'm not sleeping properly, I'm not, my joints ache and I have to take medicine every single day, and then the medicine is causing this, and it's just this vicious cycle. So, what do we need to do? 5 categories. You probably already all know them, I hope, because you're going to be a little shocked if you don't. No alcohol, no sugar, no dairy, no grains, and no legumes. Many people have said, why no legumes? Because vegetarians, veggies eat a lot of legumes, usually for their protein. But these are 5 categories that are the known biggest triggers to cause reactions within our bodies. So all we're doing, we're not saying that you're not going to eat. I mean, if somebody told me I'm not eating sugar for the rest of my life, I would not be standing in front of you, okay? I can say that unequivocally. But we're not saying that. That's not what this is about. What it's saying is, let's figure out what your body is responding to. What's causing these triggers? Because most of us don't know. So anyway, off I set. I tried to talk some friends. Some of them are in the room here. I tried to talk like a handful of people into doing this with me. Nobody would do it, other than my boyfriend, who really didn't have a choice. And so I just assumed maybe we would get 25 people to sign up and do this as a community, and we had 150 people signed up, which is why we had to add it. So I feel like people are really interested in taking this step to take personal responsibility for their health. And I also very strongly feel that this is a ripple effect. So you are a pebble that just got dropped into water, and there is a ripple effect. And you will start talking to your friends and your co-workers about what is going on. You will all, I know, go home tonight and watch that up. And you're going to be absolutely shocked at the information that you find out in this movie. And you'll tell your friends, and they're going to watch it. And then every step that we take is starting to affect this community. And then we're all taking responsibility for each other so that we can get healthy. We don't want to be unhealthy. We want to be healthy. That is actually why everybody is here, I'm assuming. So, in our yoga world, we set intentions. And an intention is a goal. Some might call it a goal. But it's a little more than that. It's about connecting to the universe, to this greater collective of all the energy that we have in this room, to set an intention. And I'm going to ask you guys all right now just to close your eyes. And I'd like you to set an intention that is related to improving your health, improving the health of our community, but also the intention that you are committing to do this, and you're going to see it through. So let's just take a minute to do that. Nice deep inhale through the nose, and then exhale out your mouth. Okay, so we've all committed to doing it now. There's a good first step. What we're doing collectively is that we know from the beginning of time, when we do things as a community, we are much more successful in that attempt. It's why there are religious places to go, because people come together as a community. It's why Alcoholics Anonymous is so successful, because people are doing something together. It's why Weight Watchers is successful, because people show up and they do it together. So this is why we're gathering together, just to have this collective energy of a community doing something together. We're going to help you in as many ways as we can to do this successfully. So what do we set up? If you're not already in the Facebook group page, you just need to get in that. So you've been added, Michelle's not here, but Michelle is here. So you've been requested. If the email that you signed up with for this program is your Facebook email, you should have gotten that. If you haven't and we don't know you, just stop at the desk on your way out and we'll make sure that you get into that group. We also have set up a Pinterest page, If you go on, the easiest way to get there is to go through our website, because when you put in Yogaja Yoga on Pinterest, you're going to get every yoga pin that's ever been done, of which there are 5 billion probably, right? So you can get there through a connection on our website. We've set up a Whole30 tab on the yogajayoga.com website. Click right onto the Pinterest, and what you're going to see is 7 daily meals for dinner. And if you don't like salmon and that's one of the meals, or if you don't like lamb and that's one of the meals, that's okay. There's an entire Google universe, Whole30 meals that you can, it's unbelievable the amount of information that is out there in the universe of what you can make. The only reason we even set up a Pinterest page is because I feel for some of us it's just easier, like, okay, that's what I'm having this week, and you go out and you buy the stuff and it's done, and you don't have to actually go and Google or look at recipes or whatever. So there's weekly dinners. We also have each week 2 soup recipes that you can make and 2 salad recipes that you can work in. There's also a section that says mainstay dinners. Or mainstays Whole30, I think is what it says. And underneath that, it's got vegetable side dishes for you that are delicious that you could throw in with any meal you wanted to if you don't like something that's on a recipe or whatever. And then there's also 5 basic go-to proteins. There's a roast chicken. It's Tom's Keller. This is the most delicious chicken you've ever had in your life. It is washed and dried. You tie it with the string and you put some salt on it, and then you put it in the oven. Can everybody do that? I'm pretty sure everybody can do that. I mean, and then it comes out and it is the most delicious chicken you've ever had in your life. I'm not kidding. So, you know, you get a slice of halibut or salmon. You're allowed olive oil, so you put a little olive oil on it, and then you go like this on the grill. We can all do this. So are there any people in this room, last time we had a few, that don't like cooking? Ooh, that's good. Nobody wants to admit it. This is really about cooking our own meals again, getting back into that. So in the documentary Fed Up that I referenced earlier, there's a doctor that they keep coming back to with questions, and by the end of it they're like, well, it's so overwhelming, what could we, oh gosh, where can we even begin? If there was one thing that you could tell us to do that would make a difference, what would it be? And you know what he said? Cook dinner at home every night. Cook dinner at home every night. I mean, we're going to go out every once in a while, but we have created a culture where we think that we go out for lunch, for dinner, for whatever it is, however many times a week. Because we don't have time, and we haven't prepared, we don't have these things. So we have to turn the clock back 40 years when there was not all these fast food places, there was not all of this stuff around, and you had to cook dinner every night, right? So the best way to do that is to be prepared. That's what we're trying to help you guys with, is the preparation of it. Go out, do the shopping at the beginning of the week, or twice a week, or if you're like me, I end up going to the grocery store every day. But this has to become important. We are all really, really busy. But until we decide that this is important, there's always going to be an excuse, right? Get set up through either our Pinterest information or any of the stuff that's out there, so much of it. Just in the 6 months since I've done this, the first time, there have been so many additions at local grocery stores, Fresh Thyme as an example. So when I did it the first time, you're allowed bacon, but you're only allowed bacon that doesn't have any sweetener in it, and no sugar, which includes maple syrup or any type of sugar. Well, guess what? There wasn't any, but there was a place online that they referred you to. So I was desperate. I was like, gotta get some bacon. So I went on. It was $19.99 a pound. And I was like, do I want it that badly? Yes. But then it was going to be $5 to ship it, and I was like, yeah, forget it. I'm not doing it.
Not really, and I don't think anyone in the world has ever said that withdrawal is a fun process. So do expect in this diet, the first couple of days, you might feel a bit of withdrawal from these addictions that you might have to grains, to dairy. I did a similar diet when I was in school, and the first couple days were really difficult, and then I pushed through it, and then at the end of the diet you do a reintroduction, and that's super important to do because otherwise you won't know what to use. If you kind of just bring everything back in your diet on day 31, you're not going to know what's bad because you might start feeling yucky, but you're not going to know, was it the grains, was it the beans, was it the dairy? So it's really important at the end to just choose one food group and introduce it in and see how you feel for a day or two. When I did mine, the first reintroduction I did was dairy, and I was just like, please be okay. And I was sorry. And then the second food group, I went to the breads and the gluten, and literally before I got up from that meal, my stomach bloated up, I got really fatiguey and irritable, and I wanted a drink. And I learned later that gluten has the similar molecule to alcohol. So when you introduce that molecule in, then your brain's like, I want more. And I just started craving alcohol. So it's really important, these signs and symptoms that your body can give you if you really pay attention and be observant about it. And what we've done here is we have a personal inventory sheet that you can download from the website, and it will, I would recommend doing it tonight when you get home, or maybe a little later once we get it downloaded or uploaded.
It'll be up by like 6 o'clock at the latest.
Okay. And basically, it's just a two-sided sheet. And it just asks you to kind of list, and it gives you a lot of conditions and symptoms and signs that you might be experiencing. And it's important to rate them on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the most intense ever. So just give yourself a number for any of them that you do feel that you experience, and then have that as a gauge for 30 days later, so you can see if anything's changed. If something's gone from a 7 to a 3. But it's great for you for now in this whole 30 and also beyond, because your symptoms are basically your body's way of telling you what it needs. So if you listen to those symptoms and you pay attention, you can find out what it needs in order to heal itself. Because the body, as I said, ultimately wants to be healing itself.
Can I just interject there? I do want to let you guys know, when I did this, I felt like I had the flu for the first 2 weeks of this program. I was sugar detoxing. That tells me. But Fred did also. And I didn't realize it was detox at first. I was like, this is so weird that I started this thing and I got the flu at the same time. It was definitely a sugar detox. And so in all the information that you read about it, it says to you, it's really not until about day 15 that you're going to start feeling maybe something positive. You might not detox from anything, but you may feel a lot of negative things it could be as long as a few weeks. So I just want you guys to know that, be prepared. Next week we're going to have Janice Sankowski here, who's an herbalist, and she's going to talk about a few things naturally that you can do to help work through any detox symptoms you might have. But anyway, I just wanted to...
Yeah, the one that I went on was only, so that's a good point. So give yourself a couple of weeks. And also with these symptoms, if you can put down any details and this is all for you. Nobody else is going to see it unless you show it to anybody. But put down details such as frequency and any details like what makes it worse, because it's really important. We always forget things after they've gone away. When I see a patient, sometimes, at the first intake, we'll talk about all these symptoms and conditions, and then I'll see them a little bit later, and I'll be like, so how are you feeling? And they're like, yeah, I'm the same. And then I'm like, so how about the headaches? Oh, I haven't had a headache in a long time. Or, bloating, gas. Did I have that? Really? Like, people don't remember. You only remember what's really bugging you. So keep a really good record so that you can look back and say, And then, it's just a really good just gauge to have for your health. And there's also things about sleeping patterns and elimination, like how frequently are you having a bowel movement. Just drink lots of water on this diet, and yeah, do this. We'll revisit it in a couple of weeks to see how you guys are all doing. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to add. I think that's it.
Okay, good. Thank
So
you.
good luck with it.
So Lindsay's going to be here every Sunday when we meet, and we'll be able to ask her any questions, and she'll be sharing information with us. When I did the program, I did not do an inventory. It was sort of like one of those things like, okay, we'll start tomorrow. So at the end of it, I didn't really know what was, whatever. And then I also, in all honesty, did not take the time at the end of it to start reintroducing things back in. And I was kind of bummed at that, because I was like, oh, if you didn't do that, you don't know what the problems were, right? Some of them you figure out along the way, but so I highly recommend that you guys just take the time to do that. I did also want to mention that Melissa Hartwig, the author of Whole30, and a very strange universal coincidence, is going to be speaking at the Toledo Public Library on Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. I mean, what are the odds, right? So, great opportunity. It does say that you do not need to register, but it was moved because of interest in it. So, I went ahead and registered because I think if it gets full, they're going to probably say if you haven't already registered, you can't come in. So you can do that through the Toledo Public Library website if you're interested and able to go. Then we're just going to sort of open it up to questions. In our last meeting that we just had, we did have sort of some like, is this okay, is that okay? And what I'm going to say to you is Google will become your best friend, okay? It's all right at your fingertips. If you're not sure about something, hit it up. So, make cooking fun. If you're doing this with a friend, you may want to consider even saying, let's all have dinner on Saturday night and we'll cook together and not drink together and have fun together. And, just as a way of support. If you really don't like cooking, maybe you take turns. Like I'll double up the recipe Monday through Wednesday, and then you double up the recipe Thursday through Saturday, and we'll just do an exchange or whatever it is. There's many creative ways to get around this. One of the things that I had mentioned earlier meeting that I do think bears thinking about just how our food has changed is that when I was growing up, granted I am in my 50s, but there's been a shift somewhere. I think it was in the 70s and the 80s. When I was growing up, there was no such thing as a kid's meal. And then in the 70s and 80s, probably McDonald's introduced the first kids meal, but the intention originally was just so that you'd have a smaller size and you wouldn't have to pay for such a big meal, right? And it quickly did this, and for some reason now we think that children don't eat the same food that we do, right? So I'm the fourth of 6 children, and my mother never made anything special for anybody. Dinner was dinner, that's what you ate, have at it. And there were things I didn't like, so I wouldn't necessarily eat them, but they were never special preparations. And for some reason, we have decided as a culture that the food groups that children eat are called mac and cheese, chicken nuggets, hot dogs, hamburgers, and pizza. This is not true. It is not true. And our children have really bought into it. And we have created special drawers in our kitchens for the kids' food, the goldfish, the Oreos, and they have told us that it would be too embarrassing if they didn't have that. It's so embarrassing when people come to my house that you serve them vegetables. Please don't do that, Mom. It's so embarrassing. We have to turn this culture thought process around. We have to make it embarrassing that we think that people are serving our kids. I've done it. I'm here to tell you, I've done it. But until we start there with our children, kids eat fish as it turns out. Who knew, right? I think babies will eat sushi if you give it to them. But that's the beginning of it all. And if you view it from that perspective, and it has just continued to balloon and balloon and balloon and balloon to the point where we have forgotten what real food is. Real food is delicious, as it turns out. Don't shortchange this entire generation of people that are coming into this world to tell them these are the foods that you eat, and then all of a sudden we think at 20 they're going to turn around and start eating real food. You lose your taste for it. You think sugar is how everything is supposed to taste. So we're going to start reading labels. You're going to identify that there is sugar in almost every single thing in the grocery store that's packaged, as it turns out. But I would just encourage you to really embrace it. This is really a program of cooking, and cooking isn't a bad thing. It's what we have done since the beginning of time, pretty much until 40 years ago. Okay. Making the time to cook, I get it, it's difficult, but it's sort of what Lindsay said about your health or your time, your health or your time. Well, you have to prioritize. That's what we have to do. We have to make the priority. So planning is going to be key. Planning is key. If you don't feel like you're ready to start tomorrow because you haven't done a lot of pre-gaming or whatever you want to call it, you don't have to start tomorrow. As it turns out, you get to choose when you do this. But I would say to you, you know what, dive on in. Maybe you, like tomorrow morning when you wake up and you're like, oh crap, what can I eat? There might be, I had that experience, but by the end of week 1, you're sort of sailing. And the other thing that is, if you start to think about it this way, when I did this, by the end of the first week, which was a little tough because I hadn't done a lot of that, but I said to Fred, you know, the reality is if we had a personal chef that was just feeding us meals, and these were the meals, we would never know that there was something that we've been taking. No, the food is delicious. They're not telling you can't eat. It's like every vegetable except for corn and legumes, every fruit. You can eat meat, you can eat chicken, you can eat fish, you can eat all nuts. Peanuts are legumes, they are not nuts, by the way. You're allowed to use olive oil, canola oil, ghee. Does everybody know what ghee is? Ghee is
butter without.
Yeah, it's none of the dairy fats. And it's used in Indian cooking. I'm going to tell you, there's a really lovely Indian grocery store called Deepam, India, right down on Central, beyond the court where the City Barbecue, that shopping center. Right next to Pound and Fodder, and you go in there and you get like this huge thing of ghee for, if you go to Kroger or Fresh Market, like you get a little thing of ghee for, $12.99 or something, and you get this huge one there. They have great stuff there. They're lovely, lovely people, and but anyway, it's really it's not difficult, people. It's one of the first sentences she says in the program. Fighting cancer is difficult. This is not difficult. Now it's challenging, but it's we have to put it in perspective about getting back to this natural rhythm in our lives. Okay. On some of the recipes that are pinned. A lot of them are not from Whole30 websites. You're going to be able to find tons of stuff. Whole30 approved, Whole30 this, Whole30 that. I happen to find that I kind of like my recipes that I like. A lot of them are already basically available to use. A lot of recipes will work. They might have butter in it. So I'll put in the little tag, substitute ghee for the butter. Okay, that's a no-brainer. They may say add a 1/4 cup of white wine, substitute stock for wine. And the other thing, you're not allowed soy sauce, and so it's difficult. The Asian cooking part is a little challenging, but there is this thing called coconut aminos. Is that what it is? Amino coconuts. And you can substitute that for soy sauce. You can't do sushi as you might know it because you can't have rice. Quinoa is a grain. Throw out any. Is there anything else that anybody's confused about? What did you say, Lisa?
We can have potatoes.
potatoes become your best friend. It's the most amazing. You can slice potatoes and toss them in a little olive oil and bake them and bingo bango, you've got deliciousness. Breakfast can be challenging because I love eggs. Everybody doesn't love eggs, but even when you love eggs, to have an egg every single morning for 30 days may seem overwhelming. You know what's delicious? A baked sweet potato becomes oatmeal. So you bake, 5 sweet potatoes at the beginning of the month. No sugar added. Bacon for, I think it's on sale for $4.99 right now, somebody told me. So now everything runs fresh warm. Fresh time, sorry. So anyway, there's a lot of things. Costco has a lot of Whole30 approved stuff in it, believe it or not. They sell organic, unsweetened almond milk, so 2-pack that you can get there. Their fruits, their vegetables, there's a lot of stuff. They have organic chicken broth. They have a lot of stuff that you can get there. So you're going to become label readers. That was the big thing for me. I had no idea that there was all this stuff in our food. Don't be fooled. If there's a word that you don't understand, as an example, xanthan gum, guess what? You pull out your phone. Is xanthan gum Whole30 compliant? That will become your go-to. Is it Whole30 compliant? It comes up right away and it tells you, no, xanthan gum is actually used as a sweetener in many foods. So these things that you don't even know what they are, if you don't know what it is, Google it, find out if it's compliant, and then you'll know. So the legume part gets a little dicey, it's a little tricky. Legumes are beans, but not green beans like we know them, but beans like soybeans, chickpeas, regular green peas are legumes, lentils are legumes, lima beans are legumes. So if you're not clear on what those are, you might want to Google that and just do a little research. Another reason that I really liked the Whole30 program is because they're not trying to sell us anything, as it turns out. Now, did they write a book? Absolutely. Can we purchase the book? Yes, I did. And I actually enjoyed having my book as a physical thing because I'm old and I like this, But every single piece of information for this plan is available for free online, Whole30.com. They have questions, they have everything, and all you have to do is just Google it, whatever your question is, it will throw you right into that page. So I think that we're going to turn it over to Lindsay. Lindsay's going to talk about some things to expect as we move forward and help us with doing an inventory before we start of our own bodies. And then we'll convene after that again.
Hi everybody, my name is Lindsay. I am a naturopathic doctor in town. I grew up here, went to Northview, went to Ohio State, and then I moved to Los Angeles and was working in the film industry for 4 or 5 years after college. And it was there, the first year I was there, that I'm just giving a brief introduction to me, by the way. I was there, I took my first yoga class, and I started getting acupuncture. I had an amazing healthcare plan because I was in the union, and they paid for everything back then. So I did acupuncture, and it started to really change me. I had been struggling with the death of my mom. She died of breast cancer when I was 21. So I had been struggling with health and disease. She was really healthy. She was an aerobics instructor, ate everything right, never swore, did everything perfectly. And so I was just really kind of thinking I wanted to go one direction in my life, and life kind of took me in another direction. So I also out there started changing my diet, California cuisine. I think I had my first avocado there. I remember when we were little, my mom would make like Mexican dip for parties, and she'd be like, okay, we gotta find guacamole. And I remember it was like a scavenger hunt in the grocery store to find the guacamole, and it ended up being in the freezer in like this tiny corner. And now we have avocados here. But what I realized when I ate all these healthful foods in California was how it affected my mood and my energy level and all that stuff. So I slowly kind of evolved into going to naturopathic medical school, which was a 4-year medical school in Toronto. and learned lots of cool things there. But what I wanted to focus on today was biochemistry. Biochemistry is basically chemistry of the body. And basically we are biochemistry. That is what keeps us alive and moving and thinking and breathing, and our blood, blood clotting when we cut ourselves. It's all biochemistry. And we get the substrate for our reactions through our food. And so what we put into our bodies creates how our bodies respond and react. And I know this is kind of basic, but it's super important. And when we take in molecules that our body does not know what to do with, it shunts them into the path of least resistance and creates fatigue, inflammation. Inflammation is implemented in all kinds of chronic illness. I think that's for food sensitivity. But yeah, inflammation is just the cause of most of our chronic illness. And so when we eat in a certain way, it shunts the biochemistry in a non-inflammatory way or an inflammatory way. Another example is the plastics in our food, that we are surrounded with every day. They mimic estrogen in our bodies. So it's like taking in estrogen. So our bodies say, okay, here's estrogen, and it thinks it's our hormones telling us how to do things, but it's actually the plastics that we're bringing in. So it's really, really important to start becoming aware of what we eat and what we put into our body as much as we can to allow our bodies to heal itself, because ultimately our bodies want to heal. They just need the right conditions. And we live in a modernized society that is so different from our great-grandparents. And so cooking foods at home, that was something that everyone normally did. Now we have all these convenience foods. We go out and we do convenience store, but it's not really convenient for our health, it's just convenient for our time. And I guess what we need to make a decision on is what's more important, our time or our health. And I guess we would have more time if we have our health. So I guess it's important to put these things in priority. And we are all different. We all come from different genetic backgrounds, from different childhood traumas and environmental, like our houses are all different. So our biochemistry is all unique, and so different foods will affect our biochemistry differently. Some people will be sensitive to some foods, and will be sensitive to others. And this diet is a really good starting point to figure out what your sensitivities are and what's not. And I want to clarify the difference between a food allergy and a food sensitivity. An allergy is when you have a frank reaction to a food like whitefish or crab meat or peanuts, and you have an anaphylactic reaction. That's an acute immune response. What we're talking about here is food sensitivities, which is almost kind of like an addiction that we develop to certain foods. And sometimes it's purposeful. Some companies know these things and they put things in our food to make us crave more of it, just like the tobacco industry. And so we have to withdraw from our addictions.
And then you just zap it in the microwave in the morning to warm it up. You scoop it out, you throw in some ghee, you mix it up, you throw in some nuts, you throw in some berries and a little almond milk. Delicious. I don't even like bananas, but I ended up loving this. Mushed up bananas in a bowl for breakfast with chopped up dates, chopped up almonds, coconut, a little almond milk, unsweetened almond milk. It's delicious. I kept eating that all the time. As a regular thing. So there's all these things that you guys can explore, and all of a sudden you're going to have this bevy of go-to recipes that you're going to be like, this is delicious. I don't feel like you're not on it's not a deprivational thing per se. So does anybody have any questions about anything? Yes.
Two things. Fermented foods?
Is that Amy?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't even tell it's you. I heard your voice. I'm like, what is that? So fermented foods we may have to Google, but when you say fermented, do you mean like
kimchi or kombucha or that kind of stuff?
So what I have found is that in most fermented foods there is added sugar.
Okay.
Sugar also means honey and syrup, don't forget. So if there's anything added sweetness, you can't do it. And a lot of them have it in it. Like pickled things usually have sugar in them. Now you can pickle your own stuff and just put vinegar in it and bingo bango, you're good. Mayonnaise, condiments, we haven't talked about that yet. Many condiments contain sugar. Unnecessary sugar, we might add. But unfortunately, Hellmann's mayonnaise has sugar in it, which is a big fat bummer, right? But you can, Fresh Thyme apparently has mayonnaise with no sugar in it, or you can make your own. Sriracha, a lot of the Asian condiments have added sugar or soy. So you have to really be careful. So sriracha is out, but Frank's Red Hot is in. There is no sugar. Mustards, like most mustards don't have added sugar. So mustard is a great base to make salad dressings. You know, so lunch recipes are not on our Pinterest page because what I found to be the easiest thing is leftovers. And you just throw whatever protein you made the night before, make extra of whatever you're making, and then throw it into a salad. You know? So, big batch of dressing, whatever your dressing is that you like that does not have added sweetness in it, figure that out, make a big batch at the beginning of the week, make sure you have a ton of salad stuff on hand, make sure you cut up your fruit when you bring it home so that it's ready to go when you want it, because that becomes, you know, like, to cut that pineapple. So, the other thing that I got into the habit of doing is I would roast a turkey breast or chicken breasts on Sunday and use those to put into lunches throughout the week. Tuna is another thing to dump in. But, you know, lunches, they're easy. Those are leftovers. It's really breakfast and dinner that becomes, you know, the like, what can I have today? But I think you guys are going to find it's not actually that difficult to stay on this. You get to eat really delicious food. Any other questions? No, Stevie, look. That was such a good question. Stevia is plant-based, but baked sugar. No, anyway, it's a sweetener, so you can't. So even if it's natural, I mean, sugar is natural. Honey is natural. Just joking. I know. If anybody, I know, I love what you did. If anybody's thinking they can drink Diet Coke, you can. Right? You guys know that. No fake sugar, nothing fake, so it's done. Coffee is all good. Creamer is not.
Almond milk creamer, right?
Almond milk if there's no sugar added to it.
No soy.
No soy. Does everybody feel like they're ready? It's a really worthwhile program, you guys, and at the end of it, what this is really all about is just bringing awareness to the foods that we're putting in our bodies. And I want you guys to talk to everybody you can about what you're doing. The more people become aware of what we're putting in our bodies, the better our community will be. Yes, Candy?
I think I read that there is no slogan that they want you to eat 3 meals.
Okay, so Candy's brought up a good question. If you read the book, there's a lot of, you know, if you go on Tuesday, there'll probably be a lot of talk at the book thing about, you know, there are rules. They don't want you drinking juice because it's not food in a whole form. Snacking is not really what they want you to do. So my take on the whole thing is that they want us to come back to eating the way we were intended to. And so I think if you were a caveman, you couldn't like reach for the, you know, granola and start snacking on that. Somebody recently said to me, and when I thought about it, I was shocked. When was the last time that you've been really hungry? Like really hungry? We don't really know what really hungry means, okay? Most of us eat when we're not even hungry, right? I mean, I do, it's a habit. It's like, I'm not hungry, but what sounds good? So, she's built in some things like that. Use your own judgment. We all get, you can, there are no things saying you can always have this amount. But if you're working towards being healthier, then let's not overeat, right? Let's have a normal portion of whatever it is, and then you're done, right? But I would say, it's your thing. You guys, you decide. Dried fruit is allowed, but they don't want you eating a lot of it. I did eat a lot of dates. I will tell you, dates and almonds. Within meals, I would use them. So, anything else? Popcorn is corn, and we're not about corn. I know, right? No popcorn. Seeds we're allowed. Is that what you said? Yeah. You're allowed seeds. Sesame seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds, we're allowed seeds. Yes.
Why is salt not an issue?
We'll have to talk to Melissa directly about that, but my guess is that it's because they're not advocating for you to use more salt, but recent studies are showing that perhaps salt is not as bad as we thought it was. In fact, it could be sugar.
Got it. Okay.
So, and I also think that some food needs salt, right? I mean, you want, the salt is, well, I guess we've created that too. We've got taste bud for it, but, and maybe it could just be one of those things where she's like, if we did salt, that would be the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, there's probably a bit of that going on somewhere along the way, but, yeah, totally. Okay, so you'll all become label readers, and you'll all be back next Sunday to discuss all your stuff. And,